much for your insight on this matter. You will be staying with us, but first we head to Europe, and according to Ukraine's Air Force, Russia has launched a massive overnight drone assault on Ukraine, with 88 drones targeting multiple regions. Kyiv was among the hardest hit, city officials have reported. There were 4 people injured and several warehouses set ablaze. One person was also wounded in Kharkiv. Ukrainian air defences intercepted 56 drones, while 24 were diverted using electronic warfare. Despite these efforts, damage was reported in 5 regions, including Dnipro and Odessa. Debris destroyed a private house and commercial facilities in Kyiv, causing widespread fire. Italy cleared the We head back to the Middle East, and according to reports, Israel has slightly reduced its demands in a proposed hostage deal with Hamas. After weeks of deadlock, Israel now seeks fewer than 11 hostages it initially demanded in response to a new Egyptian brokered proposal that envisions the release of 8 living hostages. Israel insists that those hostages be freed within the first 2 weeks of a proposed 45-day ceasefire. A Hamas delegation is now en route to Cairo for further talks. Israel is also seeking to return the bodies of 16 held in Gaza and offers to exchange bodies of Gazans held in Israel. Additionally, it has proposed lowering the prisoner to hostage exchange ratio. The deal discussion follows Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's meeting with US President Donald Trump. Meanwhile, the humanitarian toll continues to rise as the Gaza Health Ministry reported 50,912 Palestinians killed and 115,981 people injured since the war began on October the 7th, 2023. Well, joining us once again is Gautam Mukherjee, a senior journalist in New Delhi. Gautam, thank you with us. Reports of this Israeli deal, the weakened Israeli deal, looking towards a hostage release. How important is it that Israel have maybe compromised slightly on their initial demands to try and work towards the freeing of hostages and an end to fighting for at least a 45-day period?
Yes, well, this is important from the Israeli government point of view to not be stuck in an impasse with the Hamas on hostages. They have not let up on the military action on Gaza and the Hamas. They have also occupied a great deal of Gaza with a view to retaining it. So the pressure has been mounted across the board, both in terms of capture of territory that they may not return, as well as some degree of compromise shown in order to try and bring the hostage crisis at least to an end. Hamas just as resolutely hangs on to the hostages as its best bargaining chip, which both embarrasses Israel the longer it goes on and gives Hamas room to maneuver and possibly get some outside support from countries like Egypt and Qatar. So the situation in the hostage crisis may or may not end up with a final resolution, but it will certainly make some progress.
Yes, Gautam, that progress, of course, looked at by the families of hostages, dead and alive, still being held by Hamas, is absolutely vital. Also, for the people living in Gaza, we know the humanitarian situation is worsening. A UN report earlier on has suggested that strikes targeting women and children have been recorded, 36 of them in recent times. How important is it that these strikes from Israel are targetives and civilians is limited?
I don't know if there's very much left of the civilian structures, excuse me, to destroy. As far as the Hamas is concerned, they're very difficult to eliminate because they have miles of tunnels into which they go and hide whenever there is an air attack, and they're also very difficult to find in a ground attack. The process goes on, and eventually there has to be some kind of political settlement. But as long as Iran is recalcitrant, they have backing and finance and weaponry to not finish the conflict.
Yes, Gautam, I'm glad you mentioned Iran there, of course, speaking earlier in the programme. Obviously negotiating with Iran today. How important is US intervention in these peace negotiations, these Cairo meetings that are taking place, given that Donald Trump was so influential and his administration was so influential in that first ceasefire?
It's hard to say, because I think the concentration, as far as the United States goes, will be in these direct, quote, indirect talks in Oman. If these are fruitful, then other things will fall in place. The Egypt negotiation is too narrow in focus, basically on the basis of just the hostages, and this by itself may not interest America enough to get seriously involved.
Gautam Mukherjee, thank you ever so much for joining us on both of those topics there. The situation continues.